The Halloween Tale. The call had come in, again, and I was the only one left to answer it. I sighed and went to the changing area. "Let's do this," I announced in a loud voice. A computerized voice replied, "Destination loaded. Third level silver-lined armor standing by. Short-range explosive-headed rockets, ultra-bright lights, and auto-fire guns approved. AUM system and 4 drones mounted to delivery vehicle. Mech armor ready." I stepped onto the pad and slowly mechanized arms began putting on the specialized armor. Once donned, the main pieces seamlessly locked together. After that I went to the garage and inspected my vehicle and its special cargo. Both were ready to go. I got in, started the engine, and drove off into the darkness of the night. I stopped at the edge of the dark woods. I didn't repeat my very first delivery mistake of trying to drive through the woods. The trees had tried to grab my vehicle as I drove in, and I had responded with the vehicle's flamethrowers. Several had twisted away from me as the flames swept over them, their branches writhing from the heat. The trees had never tried that again. I got out and triggered my weaponry, then pulled out the cart with the special cargo in it, locked down my vehicle, and slowly walked into the woods. The trees stayed motionless for a change. They must have remembered my built-in flamethrowers and what had happened when they had attacked me. The nightmarish creatures of the forest itself also remembered me. They rolled, crawled, or oozed out of my way. I arrived at the foot of the bridge crossing over a very large lake. I launched a drone and it flew upwards and gave me a very good view of the lake. I saw the tentacled obscenities of the lake monsters lurking in the water itself. I activated the AUMs, or anti-underwater mine, and my vehicle launched all 6 of the AUMs. They arched over the forest and plummeted down towards the lake. Seconds before impact, each of them burst open into dozens of long darts and plunged into the water. Each dart burst open, spilling a special liquid compound designed to make underwater mines rupture open. I then began to walk across the bridge. The lake monsters surged forwards and hit this compound, which for them burned like acid upon their hide. They surged out of the water writhing in agony from contact with the chemical and thrashed upon the surface of the water. I crossed the bridge in safety, and when I reached the other side I stood there a moment and shouted out, "Not this time. Not this time." Next I began traveling into the forest. Here there were both zombies and ghouls. I paused a moment, then pulled out a sound bomb and launched it into the air. The sound bomb arched upwards, then arched downwards and hit a tree 50 yards away from where I was. It hung up in the upper branches and immediately began warbling loudly, switching between pre-recorded human voices and city sounds. And as the sounds grew louder, the zombies began shambling towards it. The ghouls followed them looking for an easy meal. And when they met, war broke out. I circled around the battle between the two groups. With my long-range vision I could see the zombies and ghouls fighting each other, with body parts of both being hurled in all directions. They were so busy devouring each other none of them noticed me moving towards the far edge of the forest and my target beyond that. But when I reached the edge of the forest, I was met by werewolves. Some were in wolf shape, while others were in human barely shape. I turned on the lights on my suit and stated, "I'm here, heavily armed, and I am really PO'd, care to take me on?" And, I emphasized, that goes for the werewolves that are trying to circle around behind me. Anything comes near me I'll turn into a red stain on the ground. I stood my ground, and one by one the werewolves began to waver, then dash off into the woods on either side of me. The last one in human form looked at me for a long moment, then said, "The vampires are waiting for you. Your bullets will not affect them in any way." I replied, "These bullets are for those like you. This time I am prepared for them." The werewolf then stated, "You better hope so." Then he gave out a loud growl and headed for the woods. I finally emerged from the woods, pulling my special cargo behind me. I signaled my vehicle, which immediately launched several fast-moving drones which flew towards where I was standing. I waited until they reached me, then strode towards the castle. As the werewolf had said, the vampires attacked. Some flew down from the sky and others rocketed off the parapets of the castle towards me. My drones flew down and instantly began strobing ultra-bright lights directly at the vampires. The lights were sunlight spectrum which severely hurt the vampires. To this I added the specialized explosive bullets from my rapid-fire suit guns. The vampires howled with surprise and shock and fell back towards the castle. Some of them crashed into the walls and plummeted into the dry moat. Others raced ahead of me and flew literally through the open gate at the end of the stone walkway. I waited a moment then walked into the castle. I passed the gates without incident. Then I stopped and shone my suit lights on the ceiling. They were up there. Giant spiders. Clinging to the ceiling. They didn't bother the vampires and other dwellers in the castle, but I wasn't from the castle to them I was lunch. One leapt down towards me. I shot an explosive warhead into it and it exploded, spraying liquefied spider in all directions. Instantly the other spiders reacted and leapt down at me. I shot at them. And they all burst open as the warheads hit them and exploded, rupturing them all open. None escaped. I hate giant spiders. I carefully crossed the slippery floor pulling my special cargo behind me, and entered one of the many passages on the far side of the room. A hunchback was standing there. He said to me, "You got them all this time." I replied, "I hate being attacked by giant spiders who are trying to pierce my armor with their fangs so they can suck out my life." The hunchback shrugged and said, "Neither do I, but they ignore me. I'm inedible, I suppose, but still, they can get too close." As he sidestepped the mangled remains of a spider head, then he paused a moment then said, "The master is waiting for you." "Let's go then," I said. Then gripping the handles on my special cargo I followed him. He led me to a chamber deep inside the castle. The room was inhabited by living nightmarish creatures from mankind's worst dreams. The master floated towards me, gliding above the floor. The creatures in the room around him flexed their claws and flapped their misshapen wings as he passed them. He gently alit on the floor and faced me then said, "It was very amusing watching you come in this time." The creatures in the room cackled with inhuman demonic laughter at that. The master continued with, "The lake monsters needed to be taught a sharp lesson, which you did admirably. The spiders were stupid things to begin with, maybe giant scorpions next time. The zombies and ghouls are expendable. There are always more showing up. Now, the werewolves," he laughed, "was a surprise. They seldom back away from a fight. Silver-tipped rapid-fire bullets and dragon's breath shotgun rounds will make anything stand down." I replied. The master smiled, then asked, "You have it?" I replied, "Yes." The full order, then turned and opened the doors of the special cargo. I began pulling out bags with labels that read, "Chia Wong's North of the Border Stir-Fry Mexican Chinese Buffet." I announced as I began pulling out each one of the bags, "Your order. 200 gallons of chicken fried rice, 70 gallons of menudo, 500 burritos and 500 egg rolls, 80 pounds of wontons, 50 pounds each of enchiladas and tomadillas." I uffed as I was pulling out the heavy bags. I continued with, 60 pounds of mixed sushi rolls, 80 pounds of tamales, and a full box of packets of lobster, duck, and chili sauce. To drink, I paused, 120 gallons of iced tea. Total for this with delivery, $1,958. The master smiled, then from out of nowhere produced a bar of gold. "Keep the change," the master said as he handed it to me. I took it and put it into the assayer build into my cart. After 5 minutes it came back with 100% gold. Current market value $2,562.95. I locked down the cart then turned to the master who was hovering 2 feet off the floor and said, "In the future will you please not make deliveries so difficult?" The pizza guy quit because the thing in the corner tried to eat his vehicle with him in it. The obscene-looking blobby creature lurched forwards a few inches towards me. "Try to eat my vehicle again," I said in a voice like ice, "and you will get another mouthful of Hellfire anti-tank missiles." The creature lurched backwards into a blood-red spiky abomination, which instantly reacted by biting down and sank a huge mouthful of 10-inch-long fangs into the creature. The blobby horror slapped it aside with a wave of its body. The red abomination responded to this by howling and again sank its fangs into the creature, along with its multiple 2-foot-long claws. The blobby creature retaliated by creating a huge wave within itself, smacking the red nightmare across the room and crashing hard into the stone wall. A moment later the red nightmare leapt at the blobby creature with an ear-splitting howl, with its fangs and claws out for attack. The other creatures cackling with inhuman laughter drew back and formed a loose circle around the two squabbling creatures. The master watched them both, then laughed and said, "That creature had yet to learn to wait its turn. It has since learned to wait. The missiles taught it that lesson," and laughed again. I said, "I'm leaving. Anything that tries to attack me on the way back I will burn to a cinder," then turned and left the room. None of them did. Even the master was watching with open delight the two horrors savagely fighting each other. I walked through the hallways without anything coming near me. A few vampires saw me and fled. Then overhead on the ceiling I spotted hundreds of basketball-sized silky spider egg sacs. I didn't hesitate at all and incinerated them all with my suit flamethrowers. As I emerged from the open gate the hunchback was there, watching my drones flying overhead. He said to me, "The Chinese food guy could have used a few of those. Poor guy. He lost his Mugu Gai pan the hard way to the lake monsters." I sighed then said, "This job can be a real nightmare." The hunchback replied to that, "You should see what I go through just to go shopping in the next town. And you get paid well for it." "Yes," I admitted, "but not enough to have to wear mecho armor in order to deliver Chinese Mexican food to a minion of evil." The hunchback shrugged then said, "I'm used to it. Bye Igor." He grinned and answered, "Until the next order my friend," then turned and went back into the castle. I walked through the woods in peace. Stray pieces of zombie and ghoul littered the ground. In the distance a few werewolves scurried away in the distance. A few of the grotesque forest creatures were feeding on the body pieces. They saw me and fled. As I came to the lake monsters dove down into the depths of the lake and stayed there until I passed over and went into the woods. The trees there were moving their branches about until they sensed my coming. Then they all froze in place and stayed like that until after I passed by. I got to my vehicle and keyed a control in my suit. My vehicle gushed out a cloud of chlorine gas that engulfed it. No hidden creature or fanged obscenity leapt away from it and writhed upon the ground, as had happened before. I went to my vehicle and opened up the doors. I wheeled my special cargo cart into its slot and locked it down, then retrieved my drones and loaded them into the back and locked them down as well. Then I unlocked and opened the door and got in, then shut and locked the door. I started the engine, then said out loud, "I have got to find another job," then drove away from the forest and back towards Tio Wong's place. 5 minutes later, a text message appeared on my phone, informing me of another delivery. I looked at it, then said out loud, "At least this one won't try to eat me," as I drove back towards the city. The end.